Amanda Nunes, I mean, hell of a Monday morning to wake up if you're Amanda Nunes. And gosh, Kenny, I mean, from the fight to everything before it to post-fight, I just thought she handled everything really, really well. And that includes some of the trash talk after the fact. But ultimately, we start with the 48-second knockout of Ronda Rousey that just had 20,000 people at the T-Mobile Arena. And a lot of fans around the world absolutely stunned, even if they picked Nunes to win.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you know, it was one of those fights where you're kind of trying to figure out if you're actually, you know, seeing what you think you're seeing. You know, Rousey just went out there and she looked great all week. She looked like she was in tremendous shape. She looked focused, and she went out there and just took a barrage from Amanda Nunes. Nunes was on from the get-go. She's notoriously fast starter, as is Rousey, but it was Nunes who was just getting her paws on her early. And I think everything she threw, she landed a lot of hard shots. And I tell you what, Rousey ate some big shots early on. She kept trying to move forward, but just nothing was working for her. She wasn't moving her head. And she, you know, her hands started dropping. She was running right into very big shots. And she's very lucky that Herb Dean stopped the fight when he did.
A lot of people suggested that Amanda Nunes had to get off to a fast start. Translation, snap the jab right in her nose 30 seconds in and change the whole complexion of the fight from there. The fight begins on the feet, I guess, unfortunately for Ronda Rousey. A lot of people are criticizing Ronda for not grappling or clinching. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the round does start with both fighters standing, and you need to at least be able to cover up and do some things defensively to allow for that type of opportunity. I guess that was what I was most surprised about, that we didn't even get a minute of fighting before Ronda had enough.
No, and she was trying to clinch. You could see she was trying to get close. Nunes' range and distance control is just something to behold. She was very accurate with her shots. She did exactly what she did against Miesha Tate, and Rousey just really couldn't get to that clinch. The speed differential was big as well. Nunes definitely had the faster hands. She landed a kick to the body as well, a little push kick to the stomach of Ronda Rousey, and Rousey just seemed to be stunned. She ate one of the shots and she just kind of stood like exactly where she was. Seemed like she was rocked right from there and couldn't recover. Amanda just too accurate, too much power. And Rousey defensively just did not have it. You know, she had 411 days to improve as a striker, and unfortunately for her, just wasn't able to get it done. There really was no difference in what she did against Holly Holm. There was no head movement. There was no variety. There were no angles. You know, I was just really very, very surprised to see Rousey come out like that.
So Nunes acted all week as if she was going to go in there and beat the shit out of Ronda Rousey. And then she said to Joe Rogan after the fact, I knew I was going to come in here and beat the shit out of Ronda Rousey. She carried herself almost as if she was fighting my wife, right? And, you know, as if to say, like, and then the fight starts and she fights the opponent as if to say, this person doesn't even belong in the octagon with me. And that was what was so amazing to us, having the chance to interview her at the weigh-in show and just be around her. And you saw on UFC Embedded, she just couldn't have been more loose about the whole thing. And I still would believe in 2016, despite what Holly Holm did, that there would be some intimidation factor with facing Ronda Rousey, who then comes in the physical shape of her life. And Nunes just wasn't having any of that, dude.
Well, you know, combat is such an interesting thing. You see how quickly it can evolve. And if you do not keep up with it, we see it time and time again, you will be left behind. And, you know, for Rousey, I think that she is a tremendous talent. She did so many amazing things in the sport. But, you know, I think she's loyal to a fault. And I like Edmond. You know, I've spoken with him on various occasions, but he doesn't have the experience for high-level mixed martial arts. That's my opinion. He hasn't been keeping up with it anyway. And you know, my understanding is that perhaps Rousey didn't really spar leading up to this fight. And I get that they're trying to preserve her to maybe not get hurt. But, I mean, you got to do some rounds. You got to be you got to be ready for, the worst case scenario, which was Amanda Nunes striking with you. And she wasn't able to move her head. She wasn't able to do anything defensively to avoid the striking skills of Amanda Nunes. And, she really paid for it.
Yeah, if she didn't spar at all, as we heard rumblings about after the fight, that's probably indefensible. We so applaud Kenny and laud people for, scaling back their sparring, but you still have to do it to some extent. So big picture, and John Jones came to Ronda Rousey's defense with a lot of suggestions as to what she can do moving forward if she does decide to fight. And we'll get to that, whether or not she will decide to fight. But if she does, Kenny, aligning herself with a big camp, some of what Johnny Bones was saying was that just from a camaraderie standpoint and a confidence building standpoint for Ronda and for the teammates that she would positively impact, she seems like a hermit and someone who wouldn't maybe embrace that. But do you think aligning herself with a big camp could help Ronda Rousey right this thing?
I think it would help. I do, especially to see how other people train. And I think the camaraderie certainly helps. I just think she needs a knowledgeable, experienced coach, wherever that is, whoever that is. And, I think, if John Jones is alluding to her coming to Jackson's, I mean, obviously you're talking about one of the best camps in the world. That would definitely help. I'm curious to what Rousey is going to do. I think there's easier ways for her to make money right now. She's not going to fight for the money. She's all set. The bank account is good. She's doing fine on the balance there. But as far as, moving forward and maybe getting that belt back, yeah, she's going to need much better coaching and a much better team around her. That's for sure.
Well, and it's not about the belt at this point in time. It's just about getting a win. So,
yeah.
I mean, in terms of whether or not she will compete again, you suggested that she would win and retire potentially, and I agreed with you. I felt like if she won this fight, there was a better chance that she would ride off into the sunset and retire. But losing now, almost as bad or worse than she lost to Holly Holm in 48 seconds, it's a terrible way to go out, Ken Flo. So I seem to think she will compete again, and I don't know if that's such a good idea if she's fighting somebody who's in the top three.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. The other people in the division, the other women in the division, I think Rousey can beat. But, she still needs to improve overall. Even as far as, let's take out striking. What about developing skills in getting to the clinch safely? I mean, something as basic as that was not done. And for me, as someone who has been in mixed martial arts a long time, I mean, that's just a very basic skill. And she didn't do that. There were no level changes. There were no leg attacks as far as, dropping in to try to get a single or a double leg. So, yeah, that really concerned me. But this was the worst case scenario for Ronda Rousey as far as what possibilities of what could have happened now. And for her, I mean, geez, do you come back now and risk a third straight loss? I mean, that would be even worse. So I think in some ways you just have to retire from the sport, or you go in and you make a serious effort and you get the best people you can find, the best team you can find, and be a part of that team and say, you know what, let me just get one win. Let me just start one win at a time, because I think she does match up against the other women very, very well. It just comes down to, whether she wants to do that or not. And I know her mom has come out and said that she doesn't want to see her fight. I'm interested to see what she's going to do here.
So we knew there was a strong likelihood that we were going to go on the air with the post-fight show on FS1 within a minute of the main event conclusion, well before any post-fight interview for the winner or for the loser. But when you had a result like this, Kenny, I mean, you saw the look on my face. I was so shocked, I think, by the nature of the fight. Not that Amanda Nunes won it, but that 48-second, we just had this 25-minute classic between Dominic Cruz and Cody Garbrandt, and then these women walk and the fight's over and there's a mic in your face. And we're UFC fans at our core. I'm just like, holy shit, like, I can't go on TV right now. And we've done hundreds of these shows, and I don't ever recall feeling like I couldn't even get my thoughts together. I mean, you find a way to compose yourself, but as weird a moment as I've had in TV, I'm glad you were right there beside me, dude.
Well, I'm telling you, I agree with you, and I think that's kind of the magic that Rousey brings when she competes. In a lot of ways, there is this energy in the arena when she competes that is something else. But in the end, I mean, it was Nunes who was surprising us.
And we went on the air at UFC 194 right after Conor McGregor beat Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. But we had like 2 minutes to collect ourselves, and I assure you I used every bit of those 120 seconds. So congratulations to Amanda Nunes. I can't wait to see how long she holds this belt. I think it's going to be a while. I mean, I think the Pena fight potentially is interesting, as is Shevchenko, but I think Amanda Nunes clearly is the class of this division, and scary proposition for the rest of the world that she trains at American Top Team, and she's only getting better.